The top stories tonight in Y News. The campaign season has officially begun with the proclamation rallies of presidential candidates going to their bailiwick to gather support for their respective bids.
The government reported administering COVID-19 vaccines close to 9,800 children aged 5 to 11 years old at the start of pediatric vaccination in the country.
The government assures can issue an immigration lookout bulletin against the religious sector leader Apollo Kibuloy, who was facing several charges in the United States of America.
Australia has announced the reopening of its borders to vaccinated tourists and other visa holders for the first time in almost 2 years.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, February 8, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Hardin Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. and his running mate Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio started on their campaign trail with their proclamation rally at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan. Nel Maribohok is on the line to give the details. Yes, Nel?
Arlene, presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos and running mate Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio presented their platform to thousands of Filipinos at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan during their proclamation rally. Lakas CMD President and House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez officially proclaimed Mayor Duterte as their VP candidate, while Partido Federal ng Pilipinas President Governor Jun Tamayo proclaimed Marcos Jr. as their presidential candidate. In her speech, Inday Sara presented her 3 priority programs.
Ang gusto nating lahat, trabaho at hanap buhay para sa karamihan. Kalidad na edukasyon para sa mga kabataan. At mapayapang pamumuhay. 3 lang. Pero hindi ito madali.
Meanwhile, Marcos will push for national unity.
Hindi naman siguro kataka-taka ito. Dahil nasa puso, nasa ugali ng Pilipino ang maging mabait. Hindi naman tayo palaaway. Hindi naman tayo naghahanap ng gulo. Ang hanap lang natin ay magkaroon ng disenteng buhay para sa ating sarili, para sa ating pamilya, para sa ating bansa.
Also, the senatorial slate of the BBM-Sara UniTeam are present in the campaign kickoff. Former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is also present in the event. The event was a pre-ticketed program and live stream in Facebook page of UniTeam BBM-Sara drew thousands of supporters to the arena in Bulacan Province despite the raging COVID-19 pandemic. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Nel Maribohok, reporting live.
During the first day of campaign period, the tandem of Senator Panfilo Lacson and Senator Tito Soto III eyes for disciplined campaigning and amid COVID-19 restrictions. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
Senator Ping Lacson and Senator Tito Soto said they prefer a safe and protected campaign against COVID-19. With heightened restrictions in some areas, the Lacson-Soto tandem said they will not focus on the optics of the campaign, but rather educating the public about their plans for the country. They also opted not to conduct a motorcade or caravan to also prevent traffic inconvenience in Imus, Cavite. During their proclamation rally earlier, supporters were required to wear face masks at all times and physical distancing was observed.
We assure you it's going to be a very disciplined campaign. Disciplined in the sense na may pandemic. Ayaw naming contribute pa sa problema yung health problems.
For the rest of the campaign, the tandem said they will have in-house photographers to prevent crowding, especially when they visit areas with high alert levels. A disciplined campaign will be the theme of the Lacson-Soto tandem.
Yun naman, doon kami mag-stand out. No? Makikita yung diferensya compared sa ibang mga kandidato. Nakita naman natin, di ba? Pag nagkaraban, gulo-gulo, hindi natin alam, hindi na nga natin mabilang kung ilan yung nahawa doon.
Yung disiplina, hindi mawawala sa amin yun. Yun din ang gusto namin kasama sa programa namin sa gobyerno yun eh. Gawing madisiplina uli ang gobyerno. Yun ang isa sa mga bagay. Pero pag-usapan natin yung laman. I think our programs and our platforms ay ini-explica namin. Kaming bihirang magbitaw ng motherhood statements eh. Pagka nagbitaw kami ng motherhood statements, ini-explica namin.
Meanwhile, Lacson and Soto also said they respect the decision of President Rodrigo Duterte for not endorsing any candidate.
Well, prerogative niya yun eh, whether mag-endorse siya o hindi, nasa kanya yun. Sariling decision, sariling pananaw niya yun.
The endorsement of President Duterte is gold. But since he has decided not to endorse anyone, hinahayaan niya. At tingin ko, hinahayaan na ang taong bayan na magdesisyon. Ganon ang tingin ko sa kanya. And I know for a fact na sinabi niya, hindi siya mag-endorse talaga. He told me personally on the phone. Kausap ko siya. May testigo ko si Bongo at si Senator Lacson
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
As the campaign period for national elections begins, the government has appealed to all candidates to follow the campaign rules amid the pandemic. This report will tell us why. The palace is reminding all the candidates to observe the minimum public health standards as the campaign period for the presidential, vice presidential, and senatorial candidates starts today. Acting presidential spokesperson and cabinet secretary Carlo Nograles appeals to the candidates to observe the rules for in-person campaigning to avoid super spreader events.
Let's keep our elections fair, orderly, peaceful, and safe. Sundin na po natin, alam po natin ang lahat ng mga guidelines pagdating sa minimum public health standards. At syempre yung mga guidelines din po ng Comelec. Let's follow and obey all the rules, regulations, and laws of the land.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG for its part, also appealed to candidates to strictly observe and follow the campaign rules set by the Commission on Elections, such as the provisions under Comelec Resolution number 10732. Under the resolution, the allowed activities are based on alert level classification of the locality. In-person campaigning is not allowed in areas under alert levels 4 and 5. The number of the candidates accompanying campaign staff will be limited under alert levels 2 and 3. While no limitations were set for alert level 1. Crowding, physical contact such as handshakes, hugs and kisses, and distribution of food and drink and other goods are also not allowed.
Ang panawagan po ng DILG, sana po mag-self-police, no? Mag-self-police na yung mga kandidato. Alam naman po nila yung batas, sana po sila yung manguna sa pagsunod sa batas para po yung kanilang mga supporters ay sumunod din sa kanila. Kumbaga, they should lead by example.
DILG Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya says coordination between the agency and the Comelec is ongoing for the enforcement and observance of the campaign guidelines. He adds Secretary Eduardo Año has directed all local government units and barangay officials to strictly enforce the campaign rules. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screens and ring the bell for notifications. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The palace was asked several questions about the controversial issue sounding President Rodrigo Duterte's top spiritual advisor, religious sect leader Apollo Kibuloy. Kibuloy and 2 other members of his group have been indicted in the United States, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation has released wanted posters on the religious leader. However, Malacanang reiterates for now, the government can only release an immigration lookout bulletin order as stated by Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara.
We can issue an immigration lookout bulletin order, motu proprio, We'll play it by ear as we examine the evidence before us and as outside events unfold. And of course, yung communications that will be coursed through diplomatic channels.
Under the Immigration Lookout Bulletin, a monitoring system would alert the Department of Justice of flights of the subject, but this cannot bar the person from leaving the country. Meanwhile, according to Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, the government still await a formal communication from the United States of America regarding the issue.
Again, we'll pass through the diplomatic channels. Any communication should pass through the diplomatic channels. The Department of Justice has already spoken to the issue.
Kibuloy and several of his associates were charged with conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking by force, fraud and coercion, sex trafficking of children, marriage fraud, fraud and misuses of visas, bulk cash smuggling, promotional money laundering, and others. The Department of Justice is reviewing an appeal for a local rape case filed against Kibuloy, while the Department of Foreign Affairs should determine whether the extradition request for Kibuloy is covered by the treaty between the U.S. and the Philippines. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The national government assures that the reformulated Pfizer vaccine is fit for consumption of the younger population, including children aged 5 to 11. Janice and Henta reports why.
From a total of 9,784 children aged 5 to 11 who were vaccinated yesterday, only one experienced a side effect following the immunization. National Vaccine Operations Center Chair Undersecretary Mirna Kabutahi says the lone case was recorded in Parañaque City.
Isa itong 11 years old male mula sa Parañaque, no? Namantal yung braso at mga kamay niya pagkatapos mabakunahan, pero sa araw din yun nawala na ito. Yung tinatawag na nag-resolve yung kanyang rashes.
Pediatric infectious disease expert Dr. Ana Ong Lim explained such adverse events are common in vaccinated children and it can be considered a mild reaction. She also emphasized the importance providing the right information about the condition of their children during the counseling.
It's very important to make sure that when you bring the child to the vaccination center, dapat kayang sagutin yung health screening questionnaire. Kung may lagnat ka ba, ubo, sipon, and so on. These are all precautionary para hindi na tayo malito kung magkakaroon pa ng reaction after vaccination, kung saan ba nanggaling yan, related pa sa vaccination or dahil may dinadala ng sakit yung tao.
Despite what happened, the government still considered the pilot rollout of COVID-19 vaccination for 5 to 11 years old successful.
Ngayon, we were able to overcome yung challenges at nakita namin talaga tama yung assessment namin na talagang very minimal yung magiging adverse effect. Based dun sa report na binigay sa akin, isang minor rashes lang ang na-report sa Parañaque and nothing else. Meaning talagang very smooth.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III praised the various strategies carried out in vaccination sites to convince children to get vaccinated.
Meron kakaunti. Kanina lang may gustong umiyak pero nawala na rin nung binigyan ng goodies. The first day was very successful. But I suppose they have to be consistent. In other words, the innovation, the creativity, the very colorful come-ons, the goodies, the ice cream. Sana araw-araw, ganon.
The government is scheduled to begin on February 14 the national vaccination for children 5 to 11 years old, which will be expanded to other regions. Janice and Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health, or DOH, called for volunteers to assist in the third round of national vaccination drive against COVID-19 this week. In a press briefing, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Berjeres said the country's vaccination sites are in need of the following: health screeners, vaccinators, post-vaccination monitors, health educators, encoders, talliers, data consolidators, and the third wave of the nationwide immunization campaign is slated for February 10 to 11. The Philippines has so far fully vaccinated nearly 60 million individuals against COVID-19. 8 million booster shots were also administered.
Presidential candidate Calyodi de Guzman got in trouble during the first day of the campaign period today. Dante Amento tells us why live. Yes, Dante?
Good evening, Harleen. Director Eliza David of the Commission on Elections, Education and Information Division, or Comelec EID, disclosed that among the presidential candidates, Calyodi de Guzman failed to secure a campaign permit from the Commission for his proclamation rally. In an interview, de Guzman said he is not aware if their team really got a permit. Under the Comelec Resolution 10732, all campaign activities need permit from the local government units as well as from the poll body. But despite this, Calyodi has pushed through their proclamation rally this evening at the Bantayog ng mga bayani in Quezon City. Meanwhile, the Comelec also stressed it is clearly an election offense.
Definitely it is an election offense because the requirement is they need to seek a permit first before conducting a campaign.
Meanwhile, the poll body urges the public to report election violations through Sumbongko at votesafe.ph for them to act accordingly. Election violations include vote buying or selling, hanging posters not on the designated poster area, among others.
Merong kapangyarihan ng Comelec mag-file ng multi-procure cases for election offenses dahil ang paglalabag ng mga rules ng ating kampanya ay election offense.
And now that the campaign period has, or the Comelec urges the public to report election violations through Sumbongko at votesafe.ph. And now, Harleen, that the campaign period has officially started, election violations may already be sanctioned under election laws or rules. This would constitute an election offense, and penalties may be imposed, such as imprisonment up to 6 years, perpetual disqualification from holding public office, as well as to vote. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live from Quezon City. 3 senatorial candidates and 8 solons running for the May 2022 elections were given security details by the Commission on Elections. Leah Ilagan filed this exclusive report.
19 individuals have been allowed to have security detail during the election period. This includes 15 politicians running for the 2022 elections and 4 private individuals who will also run for the upcoming polls. Police Security and Protection Group spokesperson, Police Major Jackson Casas, reminded those who wish to apply for a security detail to complete the needed requirement.
Sa ngayon po, ongoing pa rin po yung processing ng ating application for Certificate of Authority for Security Detail. Gaya po ng paalala natin noong nakaraan, mangyari pong kumpletuhin yung mga dokumentong isinasubmit para po maiwasan yung pag-disapprove.
To be able to get the agency's approval, an applicant must prove that there is a serious threat in his life by submitting validated threat assessment from the PNP Directorate for Intelligence as well as police blotter or report. The PSPG also reminded the police detail not to participate in the campaign activities.
Iwasan po ang pagtulong sa pagkampanya, pagpamimigay ng mga election paraphernalias dahil po nakasaad sa ating tungkulin na tayo po ay magko-concentrate lamang sa security at hindi po tayo tutulong sa pangangampanya. At pagka po napatunayan at naimbestigahan na kayo'y lumabag sa alituntunin ng Philippine National Police, kayo po ay maaaring masampahan ng kasong administratibo at maaari po kayong masuspinde, ma-demote o dismiss sa service.
Aside from the 19 candidates, the Comelec and PNP also approved the application for protective security of the Speaker of the House and a Comelec commissioner. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, news, and rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Acción Democrático kicks off their national campaign today. Presidential aspirant Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso, his allies, and thousands of supporters initiated the campaign through a caravan across the city of Manila. Asher Cadapan Jr. details why live. Yes, Asher, go ahead.
Jaga, Manila City has been very close to the heart of its mayor, Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso, essentially because this is where he was born and raised and flourished as a public servant, as he aspired to be a leader to Filipinos, and where he started his political career. With this, the incumbent mayor of the capital city initiated its campaign in the city of Manila today. Mayor Dumagoso was joined with his tandem vice presidential aspirant Doc Willie Ong and three senatorial candidates Dr. Carl Balita, Samira Gutok, and Jopet Sison, while other supporters and about thousands of motorcycle riders rally with them in different areas across Manila. At about 8 this morning, the Acción Democrático camp started the caravan in Tondo, Manila, where Mayor Dumagoso was specifically born in 1974. Tens of thousands of people line up along the streets while ignoring the heat to extend their support to the aspirants. Several netizens also expressed their approval through Mayor Dumagoso's live streaming of the campaign caravan. The motorcade ended at about 5 p.m. to give way for the party's proclamation rally that has just ended a few minutes ago. In his speech in the proclamation rally, Mayor Dumagoso emphasized his intention of running for the highest position in the country. He explains that he started in the slums of Tondo, and so he understands well how many needy Filipinos feel and aim for a better life. While Doc Willie Ong highlights his plan to primarily address health concerns, especially the country's fight against COVID-19. Tomorrow, Diego, the team of Mayor Isko is scheduled to be in San Mateo, Rizal, and Montalban, as well as Marikina City. Diego.
Thank you for that live report, Asher Cadapan Jr.
COVID-19 indicators show the declining cases in the Philippines. However, government officials are cautious in placing the country under minimal risk classification or alert level 1. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Department of Health reported that national average daily cases last week was lower by 52% than the previous week, and the country remains to be at moderate risk level for COVID-19 transmission with 22.2% positivity rate. However, 4 regions in Mindanao are still at higher risk for COVID-19. These are the regions of Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, and Sorsogon. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said they are strictly monitoring the case trend in these regions.
Hindi muling tumaas. Ito ay patuloy pa rin na mataas, no? So there is that difference. Baka kasi isipin ng mga tao na may bago na naman tayong wave of infections. Wala po. Ang nagkataon lang, nauna po kasi ang mga ibang area sa pagtaas ng kaso, medyo nahuli po sa pagtaas ng kaso ito pang mga areas na to, kaya yung kanilang pagbaba ay hindi pa natin nararanasan kumpara dun sa ibang lugar.
Health experts emphasize that majority of regions, especially in the National Capital Region and plus areas, are on a downward trend. The country still, especially in NCR, has to be at low risk classification for COVID-19 before de-escalating to alert level 1. Aside from the current metrics used for deciding the alert level in an area, the DOH said they are now also considering the target on the inoculation of children aged 5 to 11 against COVID-19.
Na kapag ka nag-de-escalate tayo sa alert level 1, dadagdagan po natin ng mga puntos to consider so that we can be able to ensure and magkaroon tayo ng kumpiyansa, no, na kahit na tanggalan natin ng mga restrictions ang isang lugar, safe po tayo lahat. Sama ang vaccination coverage at saka yung safety seal.
Health experts also reminded that the public should also be cautious in interpreting COVID-19 data before concluding that Omicron surge is close to end.
Parang weather lang yan di ba? Or signal numbers kumbaga sa typhoon. Yung level of risk also should determine yung ating responses. At some point, pag mataas na talaga yung vaccination rate, including our children, I think it will be safe to open up further.
As we learn more about how the virus behaves or how the variants behave, nire-refine natin yung metrics. Paano ba tayo matututong kumilos considering na nandiyan na ang COVID at mukhang hindi na siya aalis? Parang siguro, alam naman natin ang dengue, never naman yan nawala. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na nagtago na lang tayo sa bahay kasi natatakot tayo, mahawaan tayo ng dengue. May mga kilos tayo para makaiwas dun sa pagkakahawa. So ganun din siguro dito sa COVID.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A state of calamity is declared in Davao Oriental due to a cholera outbreak. 6 people have died while nearly 500 cases are reported. Elaine Moreno reports.
6 people have died while 491 cases were reported in Caraga, Davao Oriental due to cholera outbreak that started last January 31, 2022. According to the Provincial Health Office of Davao Oriental, 84 individuals are still admitted in the hospital, while 180 have been discharged. Most of the residents experience symptoms such as loose bowel movement, stomach ache, and vomiting. PHO confirmed that the cholera outbreak was caused by the contaminated food and water. There is no available water reservoir in the municipality for decontamination. Due to cholera outbreak, the municipality declared a state of calamity. The province is now conducting an active surveillance, monitoring, and treatment in response to the issue.
Na-stable ang situation, maunang nag-active surveillance yun sa ubang mga barangays kasi ang isa sa mga priorities na ito karon na dili mo-spread sa mga household in other barangays.
Meanwhile, affected families were assisted and provided their medicines and supplies. Elaine Moreno, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
For the news abroad, at least 20 people died and over 55,000 people are displaced as the second cyclone hit Madagascar in just 2 weeks. Annie Mancilia details why live. Good evening, Annie.
Good evening, Elsie. Following Tropical Storm Anna, Cyclone Basari is the second severe storm to hit the Indian Ocean across Madagascar. It killed at least 20 people, displaced 55,000 residents, and destroyed crops which are close to harvesting. Cyclone Basari made landfall this weekend with gusts of 146 miles per hour. According to the country director for the World Food Program, Pasqualina De Serio, the cyclone's impact was severe and they are still counting casualties. Moreover, it caused major losses in food security in the country. Over 3,000 houses and 200 schools were also damaged, while 14 bridges were blocked. Meanwhile, according to the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, it is likely that most of the storm victims are children, as they make up over 50% of the Madagascar's population. Elsie?
So, Annie, how are the relief operations in Madagascar to help the affected residents and children?
Yes, Elsie, relief efforts is ongoing and 8 organizations have begun distributing food, blankets, and candles to the affected population. Officials in Madagascar are also working to see how to repair and rehabilitate the damage caused by Cyclone Basari. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Annie Mancilia, reporting live from Singapore. A peer-reviewed study on COVID-19 vaccines effectivity confirmed that the vaccine-induced protection against SARS-CoV-2 infection wanes within a couple of months, but at a different speed according to vaccine type. Charis Longbowen tells the details live. Yes, Charis?
Good evening, Elsie. The study revealed that after 6 months of the second dose of Pfizer, the remaining protection was 29%, while the remaining protection from 2 doses of Moderna was 59%. There was no remaining protection from 6 months onwards for AstraZeneca. Although the remaining protection diminishes by 7 months after the second dose, vaccination is still very much important, according to the researchers in Sweden who conducted the peer review study. Researchers confirmed that protection against severe COVID-19 or even death appears to be better maintained through vaccination. The results also underscore and support the decision to offer a third dose, according to the co-author of the nationwide and observational study based on registry data from the Public Health Agency of Sweden. The main analysis included almost 1.7 million individuals, and the results were confirmed in an even larger population of almost 4 million individuals. Elsie?
Thank you, Charis Bowen, for that live report. Australia opens its international borders for all fully vaccinated travelers at the end of the month after almost 2 years of closure. Marvi Delphine will tell us why live. Go ahead, Marvi.
Elsie, Australia is now ready to restart international travel to get tourism operations and international education back on track as the country takes another step towards normality. After almost 2 years of international travel ban, Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced the long-awaited lifting of restrictions from February 21, when all tourists who are double vaccinated can then enter the country.
G'day, I just made the announcement that we're reopening the international borders on the 21st of February this year to all vaccinated, fully vaccinated, that's 2 doses of the vaccine of international travellers, so in particular international visitors.
All arrivals will be required to show evidence of their negative COVID-19 swab test and proofs of vaccinations. No quarantine is required for those fully vaccinated. On the other hand, unvaccinated travelers will need to provide evidence of their medical exemption from getting vaccinated and will be further required to quarantine at a hotel upon arrival, according to Home Affairs Minister Karen Andrews. Currently, only Australian citizens, permanent residents, and some visa holders can enter Australia, with visitors from South Korea, Japan, and Singapore have been granted exemption for several months already. Elsie?
Marvi, what are the current statistics of COVID-19 in Australia?
Elsie, Australia has tallied more than 2 million COVID-19 cases to date, with more than 4,000 related deaths. Around 274 people are currently in ICU and almost 4,000 currently hospitalized. Nearly 80% of the population are already fully vaccinated. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Marvi Delphine, reporting live from Australia. Facebook parent company Meta has threatened to pull out Facebook and Instagram from Europe if it's prevented from transferring data from the European Union to US due to lack of an international agreement. The warning issued in its annual report last week was followed up by a statement from a Meta spokesperson on Monday that called for the two powers to establish clear global rules to protect transatlantic data flow over the long term. However, as the US doesn't provide adequate protections for EU citizens against snooping, the most recent data transfer agreement between Europe and US was ruled invalid in July 2020 by a top European court. European regulators are currently reworking regulations on how European data is transferred across Atlantic. Taiwan ranks first in COVID-19 recovery index based from February release of Japan's Nikkei Asia survey. Mary Jo Marillado reports.
Climbing 2 spots higher from previous month, Taiwan ranks first in COVID-19 recovery index, according to Nikkei Asia survey released last February 4. The Tokyo-based English language news magazine gave Taiwan the highest score of 82 out of 100, beating the remaining 119 countries and territories. The recovery index ranks 120 countries or regions based on their control of infections, vaccination rate, and social mobility. Although on top spot, 6 points were deducted from Taiwan as air traffic drops due to flight restrictions and strict immigration regulations. Among the top 5 are Cambodia, UAE, China, and Ireland, while Lebanon, Romania, Libya, Ukraine, and Georgia are those with lowest index. Philippines, on the other hand, fell 45 spots to 104th due to Omicron surge. The data is derived from Our World in Data, Google COVID-19 Community Mobility Reports, Oxford COVID-19 Government Response Tracker, and Nikkei Asia Research. According to Nikkei, the higher a country or area scores, the closer it is to recovering from the effects of the pandemic. Medyo Malariado, UNTV News and Rescue, Taiwan. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Psalms, chapter 145, verse 16, it says, "Thou openest thine hand, and satisfiest the desire of every living thing."
And those are the reasons behind the news. February 8, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Herlene Delgado. We serve the people, we give glory to God.